Thank you. Talk about something a little bit different today, but it's not because, look, LB Fundamentals, that is my business name. And I know my name is Liz Block, and everybody thinks, oh, it's LB, Liz Block. It's not. It's life and business. And the reason I put those together, even though I strictly pretty much help people solve business problems as a mechanism for getting you into my world, the reality is how we do one thing is how we do everything, and we can never outperform the way we think. They're just two things that I know to be true always. And I had to go on a little bit of a journey to figure out that they were always true myself because it was a case of I didn't know what I didn't know until I got curious enough to try and break my patterns. And that's what I want to talk about today. So I just got back up from the horses and it's my morning routine. I'm sure you have yours. So sometimes it's good to be aware of your routines, by the way. And I happened to come into the kitchen and I looked around and I have a little rule that the kitchen benches before I go to bed, I clean them and I make sure the kitchen is nice and tidy so that when I wake up in the morning and start the day, it doesn't irritate me because it used to. So that was something I implemented a few years ago and I've religiously stuck to it. But this morning, I go get in there, and my partner, bless his cotton socks, and I think all of you who live with men will appreciate this, had just randomly left his plate on a bench, and he'd left open bottles, or well, open but empty bottles of the drink that he has scattered around, and the box that came out with was there on the bench. And I, of course, immediately had my trigger thought, and I got very annoyed. And I had to laugh because the old me, and actually even the tired and more emotional me will still go there, but the old me would have taken that thought, the why does he do this? I've told him 100 times, it's just lazy. And off it would spiral down and down and down until I got myself into a little tiz. Um, and so by the time he would wake up, because he gets up a lot later than me on the weekends, I would already be in such annoyance with him, such anger at him, so much frustration with him that he was innocent in this mess, right? Because and what do I mean by innocent? Because he's not innocent. He left the freaking mess in the first place. What I mean by he's woken up, he started his day, and he's going to come downstairs to me screaming at him because my frustration, my thoughts, the things I thought, the sentences I built had taken over, which were triggering the way that I was feeling. So I was feeling angry, frustrated, annoyed, pissed off. And therefore, the way I would treat him, my action toward him, would be in alignment with that. So he would often sit there like a deer in headlights going, what the hell have I woken up to? What have I done? Because for him, doing what he did last night is totally normal. It's just what he does, right? And that's part of why, I talk about this a lot for your business as well. Awareness is key. We need to stop the patterns so that we can then interrupt the patterns. So I had to stop. This morning, I immediately knew I was going to go down the rabbit hole. And these days, I ask myself much better questions. Do I want today to be a disaster zone? Do I want to keep feeling like this? And if the answer is no, because there are some days, let me be fully transparent, where, yeah, I'm happy to treat him. I'm feeling very happy to go down that road. But 9 times out of 10 these days, no, because that leads nowhere. It's just disappointment. And here's the funny thing, not to him, because he gets to control him, his thoughts, his feelings, the way he shows up. The only one that gets any negativity from how I'm reacting to something is me. And that's why that matters, because you can change you without the other person needing to change. And if you can do that, everything changes. And so, long story, long ramble. That's why these are rambles, because as you guys must have figured out by now, I don't go from a script. I don't proper plan them. I do them when I feel like I can share a really good message. And for me, this message is key. This message of pattern interrupting. getting truly aware of what you're thinking and where your thinking could spiral out of control, leading you to a place you've been many times before and you know you don't want to go. Because you know it's a waste of a weekend. In my case, I know that's a waste of a weekend. There's no good out of that. Because what would then happen is, okay, he's left the kitchen in a freaking mess and that didn't need to happen. And then I would be sitting here going, and he's not even up yet, and he's not even up yet. And off it would really spiral. So by the time he gets up. And how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so then you want to start thinking, okay, so I understand this thought pattern because it's a pattern of behavior, it's a pattern of thinking that leads you to a place you've been many times before. It will show up in other ways and it will show up in your business. So you need to start slowing things down just to become consciously aware of those unconscious patterns, right? Because that's the gift. And that's what I mean when I say you cannot outperform the way you think. Because at every level, our thoughts are going to drive how we feel, and we usually act from our feelings. Now, some of us can act from our logic, rational brain, but to me, that means you're back in your prefrontal, you're away from your primal, lizard, unconscious, automatic brain. And that's brilliant. That's why you get different results. And this all ties up in a big circle of actions and results in many ways because a true guide to understand if your thinking is the reason you aren't getting what you want is simply this. If you have set a goal, and even if you're not setting goals, that's a clue. Okay. You're not setting goals. Why aren't you setting goals? Is it because you have a history of never achieving them? So you don't bother anymore? Why don't you set goals? Okay, so that's another subclass of conversation. I think I did a ramble on that, so you can go find it. But back to what I'm rambling back to where I was talking to you. So when you start to become consciously aware of those thoughts and consciously aware you don't have what you want, you've got to know where to go fix it, right? Because oftentimes in this building of a business, we're marketed to very, very heavily. And a lot of it is what I call bro marketing and false fantasy marketing. Now, don't get me wrong, if we go back to maths and there's the bell curve, the standard deviation for distribution, you're always going to get people on either end, the outliers. So that's usually what these big ass programs with this big price tag are actually catering for. They're not catering for the masses. They are not catering for those of us who have so much thinking that gets in the way that we don't even know about because they're saying to us quite rightly, and I do this in my club, right? I give you step-by-step strategies. I give you frameworks. I give you, well, frameworks are different because you have to interpret and use them, but I also give you templates and I will support you with your copy. But the reality is you have to make it your own because if you keep using that exact stuff, it'll never work for you. And that's what's wrong in those programs. And that's why I try to be a little bit differently because outperforming how you think is everything. So take what you've got today. Those are your results. You got what you've got today because of the way you were thinking and feeling and acting. If you're trying to do something you have never done before, you need to create new thinking. You cannot use the person that you are to create that. You have to identity shift. So right back to the beginning of the story where I walked back and there's stuff all over the benches and I'm triggered. I had to identity shift in that moment. I had to choose to be a different version of me because I knew that if I let myself slip back to the old version, within 2 hours, I would be a rambling, raving, frustrated, angry idiot, and we would not have a good day. And I don't want that. It's not worth it. So I'm making different choices and I will get different results. So my little mission for you for today, and in fact for the next few days, is just to slow down. Start to become aware. Start to just become aware like a little witness. So yeah, go a little bit outside of yourself and watch what you're doing. Watch how you think. Watch how you get triggered. Triggering is the best thing on the planet because it's telling you your work. And more importantly, are you building a business whereby you know what your goal is for this month and you are also determined to do whatever's necessary to reach it? Or is that still something you're not ready to do? Because if you go and ponder that question, I think what you will find is some gold to be dug through in terms of what you think and what you really feel. And that's the work. So, yeah, that's my little challenge. Slow down. And you can see even my speaking slowed down when I said that. Slow down, become aware. You don't have to do anything with it yet. I mean, I've got lots of tools inside my club where we work through this stuff, but the first one is always get aware. And with awareness, we can change. And that's why Maya Angelou's quote, which I sort of always have in the back of my mind, when you know better, you do better, because oftentimes we don't know what we do not know, and we have to figure that out. That's why the coaching industry is booming, because that's what we are here to do, right? We're here to reflect back, to show people how they can change what they can't see, because you can't change what you can't see. Hence, you can't outperform the way you think. So I hope this one was useful for you. If it was, as always, I would love you to leave me a thumbs up. That way I know it connected with somebody. And if you feel so desired, you can leave a comment, good, bad, and ugly. I don't care. Those of you who have watched to here and are going to leave a nasty comment, fill your boots. It's just a reflection of you, oftentimes, not me. And you say, no, I'm rambly, but hey, that's what you're signing up for. So I will see you next time. Subscribe if you really like my rambles or if you get benefit from them, because yeah, I do these quite regularly now and they are just as they are. So I will talk to you all in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye.